This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, verse 10. Thus saith the Lord God Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, it shall also come to pass that at that same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates, to take a spoil and to take a prey, and to turn thy hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods that dwell in the midst of the land. Shalom, shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I want to give all praise, honor, and the glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, bishop, and elders, a great millstone that rule well, and peace and blessing be multiplied on all you brethren teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. Shalom to the elect, 144,000, and the rest of the elect out there, shalom. I'm the brother Dama Agabar, here with another lesson, Lord willing to edify through the spirit and power of Yahweh while Yahweh Shai. All right, and we're living in a time to where, these nations are getting a thought in their minds to come up against America, Babylon the Great, which is the land of unwalled villages. This is the place that, that the people are at rest. This is a place that have never really been under attack, or that has never been invaded or attacked by any outside enemies, armies, or any enemies' threats. Okay. And this is a place where people feel very comfortable and very at ease, America has attacked and invaded and sabotaged a lot of countries. They've bombed and, been at war with other countries, but there's never really been, countries that's been at war literally with America and on the soils of America, which those things are getting ready to change as we're getting closer to the end. And as these last few prophecies come to pass, we're going to start seeing America starting to be attacked. We're going to start seeing these nations, slowly but surely start bringing it to the West, to America, because this is a place to where, they don't have no missile defense system here. This is a country that has, like I said, has never been invaded, has never been attacked, has never had any, foreign, nation or former army, full-on attack this place. But we're going to start seeing these things change as we get closer into the end, as we get closer to, as these nations are realizing that America is being weakened. They're realizing that its military is not as proficient and effective and bad as it is on paper, and how powerful it is through the amount of money that is spent on the military. A lot of these nations are realizing that America is not as untouchable as it portrays itself, and as it, as it seems to be. And you're going to start seeing a lot of these nations grow bolder. They're going to start, doing things that are unprecedented, and basically bringing it to this place. We're going to start seeing more cyber attacks. Remember, you still got all those sleeper cells that are still here on the soils of America that haven't yet to be activated. You got a lot of American enemies have infiltrated and are, literally inside of America, probably just waiting to get orders, waiting to get calls to do a lot of internal damage to Babylon the Great. But as we're seeing, the Lord's going to start putting the spirit on these nations to come up against to come up against America, to come up against Babylon the Great, to come against this country that dwelleth without care, that dwelleth with, that's got things on easy mode as things are getting more and more tight. Because I was reading this article here, right? It says, California city declares state of emergency after cyber attack on computer systems. And as we know, America's infrastructure is highly vulnerable, especially like, it's very vulnerable to all these different cyber attacks and different, attacks of that nature, which Iran and Russia and a lot of these other nations are very sophisticated in doing those type of attacks. And they know that America's power grid is completely and totally vulnerable. And as things get tighter, as this World War III gets more intense, as, this war rages on, you're going to start seeing a lot of these countries like China and Iran and Russia, and other countries cyber attack the hell out of Babylon the Great and of his infrastructure and of his power grid, and it's going to eventually, like brother's been prophesying, it's going to leave America in great darkness, man. You see, not only is this place going to be attacked cyberly and technology, with this different type of technology, but eventually it's going to be attacked physically, with war, with foreign, with boots on the ground, because this place is basically, wide open for attack, man. And just because there's a lot of ocean that separates America from a lot of its enemies, hey, the time is getting to the point to where those things aren't going to matter anymore. Diplomacy is going to fail. We're going to be an all-out war, and everything is going to be on the table. And Babylon the Great is just going to be a sitting duck, man, because this place is wide open. Remember, it's been comfortable. It's been living on easy mode. It's been living, with the world reserve currency being the dollar, is giving America a lot of leverage. It's brought a lot of peace, a lot of security, a lot of it's kind of like when you. It's kind of like, it's never really had to militarily, defend itself. It was always on the offensive. It was always on the attack. It was always able to, put sanctions on its enemies, to put sanctions on countries and do things that would force a lot of these countries to basically do the bidding or do whatever America told them to do. But now countries are figuring ways outside of the hegemonic, power of America. And now they're realizing, look, man, if we're going to attack, now is going to be a good time to get at America, because they're weakened. They're not as strong as they once were. Their influence and their reputation is stained. And one thing they're realizing is that the military is not as bad and as up to date and capable of this modern day warfare as these other countries are. They're realizing that America's military is stuck like 20 years behind, and there's newer ways that these countries are going to fight war that America is not ready or equipped to handle. So it's just going to get crazy, man, as we get closer into the end. But let's read a little bit of this. It says, the city council for Susan City declared a state of emergency Saturday after a cyber attack forced the municipalities to shut down its information technology network. The attack affected the communication operations of the fire and police departments in the Northern California city, including the routing of 911 calls. Tucson city officials said in a statement that the attack posed no imminent threat to the public and that all public safety services remain active. The computer network was shut down to contain the threat and preserve evidence for a federal investigation. See, but it just shows you that at any moment, this place can be attacked. Its infrastructure can be shut down. The water. It was just a so-called a cyber attack in Minnesota on the water supply. And like I said, America is totally vulnerable to all of these such attacks, man. And when, things get hot enough and when this war gets fully amped up, you better believe these nations are going to be using this to their advantage to totally shut down the infrastructure of Babylon the Great, man, which is going to lead to great suffering, darkness, desperation, fear, and ultimately set the stage for a major attack to come upon Babylon the Great, America. And you see, and this is all because of the pride of Babylon, the pride of America. Like I said, even these American citizens, they're walking on in pride. They believe that, America is safe and it's never been invaded. And, these countries know better than to lay a hand on America. We got the greatest military on the earth. We're so powerful. We're so this, we're so that. But people are coming to the realization that is those things just sound good on paper, and those things are not really a reality. You see? So this place, man, at any moment can be severely crippled infrastructurally by the enemies of America if they really wanted to. You see, so we're not all safe. It's not all gravy here in Babylon the Great, man. Like I said, all of this comfort and this Pax Americana has really, put the people in a vulnerable mindset, thinking that things are always going to be okay. Nothing never is bad going to have here. This is just the safest place on the planet and untouchable, and it's this and it's that. But that's just not the reality, man. Like I said, the Lord's going to put continue to put the spirit on these nations to come up against Babylon, to come up against America. See, so this place is not safe, man. This place has its destiny is to be destroyed. This is Isaiah 47:1. It says what? Lament for Babylon, which this is speaking about America. It's not speaking about ancient Babylon. It says, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon, which is America. Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. And we see that now with this whole Trump administration, with this war with Iran, and just the whole reputation of America in general is it's in the crapper, man. You know, everybody is cussing out the so-called white man. Everybody is cussing out America. Everybody is cussing out the small hats. You know, there's a very shameful spewing on the glory of America, and it's, you know, as we're getting closer until the end of this place. It says, take the millstone and grind mill, uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. Right, and a lot of America's shame is being seen. You know, with his original sin, which is the slavery of the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. People are waking up to all the corruptness of this society. How America uses the dollar for its own advantage. How they have all these different military bases in the backyard of all these different countries. How they're, you know, how their influence and their, you know, and their vibration, you know, is completely wicked, man. You know, the nations have joined themselves to America. They've enjoyed the luxuries. They've enjoyed the culture. They rubbed shoulders. They laid down with this place. And now these nations are mad, man. You see, I mean, look at the average everyday American. They're constantly bitching and complaining and moaning about the conditions of the United States. And this is not the America that they remember, and how their freedoms and their constitutional rights are constantly getting trampled on. How these super rich elites are getting richer while the everybody else is getting poorer. They're wiping out the middle class. People, bro, I was listening to a podcast yesterday where this financial guy was breaking down how over there in Texas, you got thousands upon people that are foreclosing on their houses, that haven't paid their mortgage in damn near, and, you know, in long months and years, and how it's so many foreclosures that the bank don't know what to do, because the bank don't want to foreclose on the house because they don't have nobody to put in the house after they foreclose on the house. So then they're not even foreclosing on these properties. People are just living in these houses that they're not paying their mortgage in because ultimately they can't afford it. Or the price has gone up so much that people are just fed up and they're not paying the shit anymore. So this place is completely, totally just screwed, man, on every metric. You know, you got people on these different social media platforms complaining about their paychecks. They're complaining about the quality of the food, the quality of life. You know, they can't afford to, you know, their medical insurance. You know, everything here is just completely and utterly crumbling from the inside out, man. And people are realizing it. And these nations outside of America realize it. And they're realizing that their opportunity to really to strike and to bring this place down is approaching. It says, thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen, and I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. You see, we're talking about when Yahweh Shai returns. It's going to ultimately put the cherry on top in the full destruction of America and Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, and his dominance on this earth. It says, as for our Redeemer, Yahweh of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. And we see this happening to America as we speak. And this guy, Donald Trump, is doing a bang-up job of, you know, tarnishing the reputation of America. And ultimately, you know, he's going to bring the America as we have known it into this new world order. You see? It says, I was wroth for my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thy hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient has thy very heavily laid thy yoke. Talking about America. You see? And this is what they've done to the Israelites since we've been in their possession, man. They didn't show us no mercy. They continuously beat us with continuous strokes, you know, shamed us, you know, ridiculed us, sabotaged us, enslaved us, raped us, you know. Put crack in their communities. Now they're feeding us genetically modified organisms. Now they're talking about bringing in this digital slave system, putting micro C-hips and neural links inside of the people, putting them in 15-minute cities. So his wrath and his anger and what he really continue to plans to do to the Lord's chosen people, hey, it's still on the agenda and on the table. You see? And he's getting ready to lay the heaviest of yokes that the earth has ever seen with this whole digital beast system. You see? It says, and thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. Right. So this man, you know, still has it in his mind that he still ain't going down. Even though his empire is crumbling, his America is going down the shithole, he still believes in his heart of hearts that with this new world order, he's going to arise from the ashes like a phoenix and continue to have his house and his rulership continue forever via this digital slave system, man. You see? And even though he knows prophecy, he knows Yahweh Shai is coming back, in his heart and in his mind, he believes that he's still not going to lose. He's still going to use technology and AI to defeat Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, man. Which is absolutely absurd. But hey, this is his sentiment. This is the spirit that this devil is in, man. You see, it says, therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasure, that dwellest carelessly, that saith in thine heart, I am, and none else besides me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, and one day, the loss of children and widowhood. You see, and that's just why, I was explaining, just like here in America, man. At any moment, at any time, a judgment or prophecy can come to pass. At any day and at any moment, the infrastructure could be completely shut off and collapse, just like in that Tucson city over there in California. Just like any day, how a couple of years ago, how one day everything was just locked down. You see, things can happen just like that. This is why we got to continuously stay prayed up, man. Making sure that we're moving pleasantly in the sight of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, because at any moment, man, boom, something major can happen. Life can change in the blink of an eye. And at the and something major could happen here in Babylon the Great, America, at any time and at any moment. It says, but these two things shall come to thee in a moment, and in one day, the loss of children and widowhood, they shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge it have perverted thee, and thou hast said in thy heart, I am, and none else besides me. You see? And it's beautiful the Lord has you so puffed up in your pride to believe that, that you're in control of your own destiny, man, and that nothing is going to happen unto you. That's why it's going to be beautiful when it happens. And when it happens, you're going to, especially when it gets to the point to where it's no longer in your control. Because there are certain things that this devil does. He does orchestrate certain, situations that happen that he's staged himself, but he makes it seem as if it's just some natural occurring thing. We know that they can control particular narratives to some point. Hey, but the things Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is going to bring on this devil, he's going to know for sure it's definitely not in his hands. And the things that are happening are coming from a higher power. You see, and he's not going to be able to put it off. He's not going to be able to conjure or use his witchcraft or his media or his BS to control it or push it off, man. It's going to be on him, man, and it's going to be evident it's coming from Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. Verse 11, therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee, and thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. You see? And this is what's getting ready to happen here to America and Babylon, and to you Babylonians here, man. So it says, stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. You see? It says, thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, and the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame, for there shall not be a coal to warm at, nor a fire to sit by. You see? And that's what's going to happen eventually. You're going to be burnt with this thermonuclear destruction, man. They're going to burn this whore with fire, and that's going to be the end all be all. But before that, the Lord's going to allow all type of calamities and hell and attacks and situations to transpire here in Babylon the Great America that this devil will not be able to control or to stop. And he's going to fully understand that it's going to be for his total destruction at the end of the day. So this is Baruch chapter 4. Where do I want to start? Baruch 4:30, it says, take a good heart, O Jerusalem, for he that gave thee that name will comfort thee. Miserable are they that afflicted thee, and rejoiced at thy fall. Miserable are the cities which thy children served. Miserable is she that received thy sons. And who is that? America, Babylon the Great. You see? It says, for as she rejoiced at thy ruin and was glad at thy fall, so shall she be grieved for her own desolation. For I will take away the rejoicing of her great multitude, and her pride shall be turned into mourning. For fire shall come upon her from the everlasting, long to endure, and she shall be inhabitant of devils for a great time. You see? And that's what's coming to Babylon the Great America, man, to the land of unwalled villages. And this place is going to continuously be under attack as we get closer to the end. See, and these nations know that this place is beyond vulnerable, that is, is wide open. Even Iran was just talking about building missiles that's capable of reaching the West, man. And you got a lot of these nations, they're putting hell of billions of dollars into their military infrastructure, basically building these long-range missiles. To do what? Ultimately, to fulfill the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, which is to totally destroy Babylon the Great America, man. So, hey, this place is going to continuously be wide open. The Lord's going to put the spirit on these nations to constantly be on the throat of Babylon America, and it's wide open for all of these things. So we're going to watch these things unfold, man. In the meantime, we're going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahushai, man. Hey, keep praying and hoping that we're part of the elect, part of the predestinated ones, and that, hey, provision is going to be, provided for those of us who are sincerely in this truth and truly following Yahweh Shem Yahushai, man. So with that, Lord willing, this is edifying. Until the next one, shalom.